I just loved the can art.
Yeah, it kind of looks like you when you had purple hair.
Oh, that's nice. She's really pretty.
Hey, it's Sue.
And Megan, the Spine Breakers. And today we are going to do an April wrap-up.
Yes, and we're gonna drink this Gypsy Goddess Raspberry Rattler from Rochester Mills Beer Company.
And this is from Rochester, Michigan. I picked it up when I was in the Michigan land because I like to bring back beers for us to drink when I go up there. Oh, shit. That beer is excited.
Oopsie.
Excited.
Okay, let's try it.
Let's try it. Gently cheers.
It's pretty tasty.
Oh, I had two little bubbles like right next to each other. It looked like little butt cheeks.
Like,
beep. It's pretty tasty. It's super raspberry.
and it's pretty sweet, so not something I'd probably drink a lot of, but this beer is just fucking with both of us.
Damn. It just
Gypsy Goddess, damn you.
Gypsy Goddess.
What are you up to here?
Crazy girl.
Yeah, it's pretty tasty though. Nice, refreshing,
Crisp.
light, crisp summer beer.
I like it.
All right, so we both had pretty good reading months.
We did. I read 6 things.
I think I read 8 because I had 2 audiobooks and like 3 graphic novels. But still.
Still counts.
All right, so the first thing that I finished was an audiobook, and I listened to Not That Bad, Dispatches from Rape Culture. Actually, I think this is one that they switched the order, so I think I actually read this other thing first, but oh well. Not That Bad, Dispatches from Rape Culture, and this is a collection of essays edited by Roxane Gay, all about people's experiences with rape culture, and it was fucking fantastic.
Did you like it?
I loved it. And this is like a rare case where I definitely would recommend the audiobook because each essay is read by the person who wrote it. And I think that was like really
cool.
Impactful. Yeah, but as the title would suggest, it kind of has the theme of like, just because you didn't go through something as, violent or as traumatic as someone else doesn't mean that it wasn't bad or that it wasn't traumatic in some way. Or yeah, it was really good, and there's a range of, it's not just all women, it's mostly women.
Yeah, I think there's like 2 or 3 essays in there by men.
But yeah, and just a range of everything from like being catcalled to like being raped, like everything is talked about in every, a lot of different kinds of experiences. So yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah, I really liked it when I read it on my Kindle.
Yeah,
a while
and
back.
I think that if you're a woman, you will definitely relate to
absolutely
many parts of it.
Yeah,
even if you haven't gone through anything very violent or
or very
extremely traumatic. There's still, it's stuff that women deal with on the daily.
Yeah, so I think like every woman would relate to it.
Yeah, and like I said, there are some men in there as well, and men have to deal with rape culture also. So yeah. So that's the first thing I finished. Actually, the second, I think, but it's fine.
The first thing I finished was Feedback by Mira Grant. I don't remember if I talked about this for last month or not, but it says I finished it on April 1st.
I think you had almost finished it last month.
Yeah.
I think you talked about it, but you hadn't finished it quite yet.
I finished it April 1st. And that is a newsflash novel. It's about a different set of bloggers than the trilogy was about, but it's like in the same universe and like at the same time period. I really liked it. I mean, I really dig those novels and novellas and like in between stories. I dig that universe a lot. But it's about the zombie apocalypse and journalists who cover it, because basically the world is just living with the fact like society still exists, like there's still a societal framework and like life is going on. But there are zombies. Yeah. And so they're kind of living in this world. And I liked it. It's really inclusive. Like there's a non-binary person in it. There's like a gay couple in it. So it's super inclusive and I dig it.
The next thing I finished was Regression Volume 3. What is this called? Sacrifice by Cullen Bunn and Danny Luckert and Marie Enger. And this is the third and final volume in this series about like a demon cult, basically. And I really liked it. I liked how it concluded. I will say that I would kind of like to go back at some point and read them all three in succession.
Yeah, I would too.
Because I think that for a little bit in the beginning, in both this and the second volume, I was kind of confused because I like
where the
forgot
timeline was.
what was going on. And it does switch timelines. It goes into the past and in this one into the future as well.
Which now that I read this one, I think that there were some glimpses into the future in like the second one.
Really?
I think so.
Yeah, see, and so I definitely would like to go back and just read them all, one right after the other. Yeah, because I would also kind of forget, because there are characters who are two different people, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
they're like, what do you call that? Reincarnated. So in the past, they look different, and so I would kind of get confused about who was who and whatnot. But I really enjoyed the story, and I liked how it ended. Like, it was appropriate, I felt.
I agree.
Yeah, so
I agree.
I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, I believe.
Samesies. I also finished this, so.
And I gave Not That Bad 5 stars, I think. I didn't mention that.
Okay, so I also finished Regression, so I will not mention that again. But then I finished Countdown, which is a newsflash novella. And I think this one was about the beginning of the zombie apocalypse. It is, yeah. So it's about how it started and like the 2 scientists who created the viruses.
What is that noise?
That's apparently the noise my Facebook Messenger makes now,
That's
even
weird.
though I never told it to do that.
That's really strange.
Yeah, it's about how the zombie apocalypse started, and I really dug it. So.
The next book that I finished was The Stars Are Legion by Kameron Hurley, and I buddy read this with Sam from Sarcasm and Sci-Fi. And this is about, how do I explain? It's a very strange book.
Yeah.
There's this legion of planets. I guess they're planets.
They're like
these weird
planets.
living. They're almost
'cause-
like giant ships. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's very strange.
I think they're planets, but the entire planet is alive.
Yeah. And they are like at war, and and it follows mainly one character named Zan who has lost her memory. So she's kind of trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And then you also kind of follow Jade,
I think.
Jade, who knows what's going on but doesn't say for some reason, even in her own head, which is kind of a thing that bothered me a little bit. I was like, why are you being so cryptic?
Why are you being like this?
In your own brain, because
Right.
it's like a first person perspective. But yeah, so I don't know how to explain it, honestly. It's really strange.
It's a weird book.
And it's almost in some ways reminded me, it gave me like the Odyssey vibes, or like Dante's Inferno a little bit too, because Zan is trying to make her way up through these levels in this planet, or whatever it is, to get back to Jade. I thought it was really interesting, and I liked things about it, but I also felt like I had a lot of unanswered questions at the end. So I felt like it was a really cool idea, but that maybe it wasn't like executed in the best way. So I gave it 3 stars because I did mostly enjoy it, but I was also just like, what the fuck? What the fuck was? And it did have a really good conclusion, and so I almost gave it 3.5 stars. Because I was like, the ending was like really good and like satisfying, but then when I thought about it more, and like Sam and I talked about it some, and we were both kind of like, but what about this? And what about that? And what about that? And I was like, yeah. So if there was like a sequel, I would for sure read it, because I thought the world was like very interesting, and the characters were pretty interesting. And there's also an important thing about this book is that there are no men in the book at all. And it was kind of interesting at the beginning because I noticed in myself that sometimes I would just assume a character was a man before they specified. So I was kind of like,
Alright, so next I finished The Lottery, which is a short story by Shirley Jackson. And it's about this town that has this odd ritual that they do, and nobody really knows why or where it came from. They just do it. And I don't want to say more than that because it will spoil it.
Okay.
But it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I like Shirley Jackson a lot. And it was one of those stories that you read it and you were like, all right.
I need to read that.
I gave it 4 stars. I dug it.
Next, I think we both read this one as well, right?
Yeah, we did.
We both read The Lost World. Oh, I forgot to mention that we were reading some of these for readathons.
Yeah.
We did the Creature Feature readathon.
We did.
And the Owls readathon.
We did.
So I guess we'll talk about that at the end,
Yeah,
since we haven't been talking
get there.
about it this whole time. But The Lost World by Michael Crichton, which is, of course, the sequel to Jurassic Park. So, dinosaurs.
Yeah,
Dinosaurs,
dinosaurs, and yeah, I mean, and Ian Malcolm.
Yeah. And I enjoyed this. I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
But it was kind of just like same shit, different day with
Pretty much.
Jurassic Park.
Same shit, mostly
basically.
different characters.
It was pretty formulaic, I would say.
Yeah, it was like the
even
same
had-
type of character.
Yeah, because they even had like 2 children.
One of them was
boy,
really good with
one
computers.
girl. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I feel like he puts children in his story as like a lazy way to be able to explain the science of things, because obviously
Right.
if a bunch of scientists are hanging out,
You don't have to.
they don't need to explain basic
Yeah.
shit.
And Michael Crichton is bad about doing info dumps.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's one thing that I think is clunky
Mm-hmm.
about his writing. So I'm like,
Yeah. And these kids also were like 12 years old, right?
yeah, and they're supposed
11 or 12, and they're supposedly very,
advanced.
very bright children, but like one of them didn't know about like plants' defense mechanisms.
Right.
And I was like, you don't seem that smart.
That's right. Or like how evolution works, where like traits are selected for or against in the environment. And they were like, what?
Yeah. But, I mean, like I said, it was fun. I enjoyed reading it. I read it pretty quickly, but I don't think it was, like, that good. So I
No.
think I gave it 3 stars.
It's fun, but it's not like a great work of literature.
No, and if it hadn't been so very similar to Jurassic Park, I might have, like, rated it higher.
Yeah.
But it was just
The
very
same
much the
thing.
same.
And then lastly, I read Horrorstör by Grady Hendrix. And I had read My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix, and I thought it was like, because it's like horror comedy or like ridiculous horror. And I really liked it. And so I wanted to read this one, especially because it looks like an IKEA catalog, and it's definitely modeled after IKEA. I thought this was really fun. It's about a store called Orsk, which is an IKEA ripoff, and they say it in the book that it's like the American version of IKEA trying to rip IKEA off. And it's about the employees who work there, and like weird shit is occurring in the store, and come to find out, ghosts is yours.
Did I just
Hey, girl.
drink out of it earlier?
I don't know. We've shared beer before. We'll share it again. I ain't worried. But yeah, so there's ghosts in the store, and there's a whole sordid history about the plot of land the store sits upon. So I liked this a lot, and I had a lot of fun reading it. I think I gave it like 4 stars.
That sounds cool. I just bought My Best Friend's Exorcism from Book Outlet. So
I really
I'm
liked
excited
it.
to read that.
I thought it was a fun 80s horror romp.
Okay, I have 3 more, I think, that I read. No, 4. First is another audiobook called Life Will Be the Death of Me, and You Too, by Chelsea Handler. I had seen her on the Not Too Deep podcast, which is Grace Helbig's podcast. She's a YouTuber, if you haven't heard of her. But, I'm not a big fan of Chelsea Handler. I'm just indifferent to her. I don't
Same.
dislike her or anything, but I'm just not like a huge fan of hers, and I haven't read any of her previous books. Excuse me. But after hearing her on that podcast, I was interested in reading this because it's kind of more, it's actually funnily, not really funny, but like serendipitously, it is also kind of on the theme of like not that bad, thinking things are not that bad. Because she talks about, she started seeing a specific therapist who like kind of opened up all these things that she hadn't been dealing with from her childhood, and she had that perspective of like, well, I wasn't molested or abused or anything, so I need to just
Get over it.
move
Move
it.
on, right.
But she had some trauma because her brother died when she was a child, and her family like didn't handle it well. And so, yeah, this book is kind of her talking about that and about just growing and figuring her shit out, kind of.
That's cool.
Yeah, I liked it. I gave it 4 stars, I believe. Yeah, 4 stars. I thought it was really good, and that's kind of something that, like, I feel and I think most people need to work on is, like, even if you didn't go through something as that you think is as bad as someone else, it can still really affect you and,
Right.
and you know, cause issues that you need to work through later. And then next I finished The Unnoticeables by Robert Brockway. This is like a horror comedy type of thing where it follows 2 different timelines. One set in 1977, and you're following this man named Carrie, who is a kind of a punk. He's in the punk scene. And then also in what was probably present time when this book was written, but I think it's 2013, following a woman named Caitlin, who is like a waitress / stunt woman. And they're both dealing with these weird supernatural things, kind of.
Okay.
Like Carrie encounters these tar men, they call them, who just kill people. They're just like these dark, tar-looking beings. Caitlin encounters this man who's like empty inside and is like trying to steal her soul or something, and they're all connected, and it's kind of weird to explain again. But this is another one where, like, I read it pretty quickly and I did enjoy it, but I don't think it was that great. I again gave it 3 stars. I think it's a whole series. I probably won't continue in it because I don't think it was really worth it.
Worth your time.
But I mean, it wasn't bad. It wasn't as funny as I thought it would be either. Like, it wasn't my kind of funny, I don't think. Then next I finished Monstress, Volume 3. What's this called? Haven, by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. And this continues the series about this girl named Meka Halfwolf. I don't know if I'm saying Micah, I don't know if I'm saying her first name right. But she basically has this weird monster living inside of her that is kind of trying to get out. And I enjoyed this series. The story got better after the first volume, and I still enjoyed it a lot in this one. The art still 10 out of 10, fucking beautiful. Yeah, it was good. Solid 4 stars for me. And then the last thing I finished was another graphic novel, and it was Saga Volume 3. I just read Volume 3 of
Bam, of everything.
of everything.
All the Volume 3s.
Saga Volume 3 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. And this continues the story of these 2 star-crossed lovers trying to survive, them and their child, trying to get away from both their governments are hunting them down, and they're both their peoples, I guess. And I loved this one. This was my favorite volume so far. I just fucking loved it.
That's awesome.
I gave it 5 stars.
I want to read that.
It definitely has lived up to the hype for me so far. And I guess we can quickly talk about the readathons.
I got my papers.
I didn't bring my papers for my owls thing or anything because I totally forgot about it until we were filming just now.
Oh, I don't have my owls thing. I threw that away because I didn't really read anything for it.
I did complete my owls. I actually read, I think, 7 owls. I made my astronomy thing and also
Nice.
got like exceptional or whatever the ranking was for reading at least 6. So I did good on the owls. I didn't do bad on creature feature either, but mostly because I counted the Lost World for
everything.
Several things.
Yeah, I did too. I didn't really do the owls thing like I was going to. I just didn't. But I read 5 out of 7 books for creature feature, and I almost filled up the bingo card.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't bring mine, but I think I missed like maybe 4 or 5 on the bingo card. Not bad.
No, not bad at all.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
So that's it.
That's it. That's our April wrap up. We're merging into one person.
Oh, God.
I almost said Pearson.
One Pearson.
One Pearson.
Yeah, and I like this beer.
It's good.
It's nice and refreshing, like we said.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.